Continuing with the ongoing research, in today's video, I want to talk about the ideas and the research, the concepts of self-healing, of touch-based healing, and a little bit of the placebo effect. I want to apologize in advance. Currently, I've been under the weather. I haven't been able to put out as much content as I would like to, and my voice is still a little bit raspy. So going on with the topic of today's video, I want to talk about a few of my own experiences with illness, because this is one of the reasons why I want to cover this aspect of the research on consciousness in this channel, because it is all related, and I have some personal experience in these things. As a child, I used to be a very sick child. I was diagnosed with asthma, which is it's a lung sort of disease or situation that is not curable. This is not curable, and I remember when I would get sick as a child, whenever I would get a cold or something like that, it was a very nerve-wracking situation where any night I could be rushed into the hospital because my lungs would start collapsing and I would start choking. I have memories of me being a child, just going to the doctor with barely breathing, with my family very scared about me. I was the child who would have a humidifier in the room at all times, an inhaler, and so on and so forth. When I was around the age of 10 or 11, maybe 12, I cannot really remember, I started to get into sport. I was someone who was told by the doctors that I would never be able to play sports, I would never be able to lose weight, and so on and so forth. But I met someone in my life who got me into sports, and they told me, if you start doing sports, a lot of your issues are gonna go away. So I started to get into American football. I play rugby. I did like 10 years of martial arts. I still practice it. And when I started to practice football, my asthma was completely cured. I was suffocating on a very dry field where we used to train at, where all the dust and the air would come up in the air, and it would fill my lungs as I was running laps and with equipment and hitting my teammates, and just the idea of roughening up and so on and so forth. I wouldn't really advise it, but it did wonders for me, and suddenly I was cured of asthma, an incurable disease. Since then, I had a lot of sport-related injuries, broken bones, knees, clavicles, fingers, so on and so forth. And I realized that my attitude towards the injury went a long way through the healing process. The more I complained about it, the more I felt bad about it, the longer it was gonna take, and the more I took care of myself and I tried to get back into it little by little, the easier it was for me to heal these injuries. The more they happened, the easier it was for me. As I said, as a child, getting a cold or something like that was a 2-3 week process of illness and taking medication and so on and so forth. So as I've been researching these aspects of self-healing, of consciousness, of what seems to be the truth behind the BL, I've started incorporating into my own life all these different practices, meditation and so on and so forth. I no longer take medicine. Whenever I get sick, I simply let fever run its course, and I realized that I am able to heal myself with these techniques. I don't know what it is, but it just happens, and my symptoms are very mild. I've never gotten sick as I used to ever since I stopped taking medicine, ever since I started to control my breathing, to do a little bit of meditation. I don't do a lot of meditation. This is something that I want to start getting into, but I just try to calm myself down, to understand what the process is, and this has done wonders for me. So I just wanted to share this as a little bit of a side note, because I've been talking about this in this channel, and what I'm doing now is that I'm going into the actual research of things. What is going on? Why was I able to cure my asthma? How did it just happen? How do these miracles just happen out of nowhere? What is the variable? What is going on here? So today I'm going to be reviewing an article which was done this month. I don't know when I'm gonna post this video, but it's April 2022, and it talks about these ideas of healing, of touch-based healing or energy healing. There's a lot of ways to understand these things are beginning to be seriously taken by the medical fields and are beginning to be simply practiced normally in medical settings, which is a huge step forward into understanding health in a broader way. Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. Alright, so I'm gonna be looking at this article called Grappling with the Science of Touch-Based Healing Practices. Healing touch and other energy-based therapy is entering conventional hospitals. Can Biofield manipulation, and quote-unquote subtle energy research validate them as medicine? Now, this, I find it amazing. This is April 11th, 2022. This thing was written April 11th, depending on when I'm uploading this video. It's the same month. So this is just coming into our mainstream ideas, into our mainstream institutions, into the conventional medical settings. And there's so much evidence on this. I'm gonna be referring in this video to some of the videos that I've done in the past. One quite recent, the one with related to the placebo effect, and another one to some research by Dean Radin on this quote-unquote energy healing, which is some sort of a misnomer. We're not really talking about energy here, but this is the idea of energy healing and touch-based, lay on hands. This idea, they call is also related with Reiki and some other Eastern practices. These are rituals. These are ways for us to understand what's happening. But according to the research from Dean Radin, there's something else at hand. And some others like Bill Bengtson, which I've covered, and I'm going to be referring to those two videos all throughout this video. What I found amazing is that this is so recent, and this is as I've been saying, this is part of the ongoing research and is entering our mainstream institutions. This idea of the placebo effect, of touch-based healing, this quote-unquote alternative healing, this care healing, the idea of working with patients not only through their regular treatments but with these quote-unquote alternative methods is really taking on, and this is something great for everyone because we have the science behind it. So the article goes on about a lady who had a little child who had been sick for quite a long time, that didn't know what to do. So the article starts talking about how she embraced these quote-unquote alternative medicines. It says, after 48 hours without relief, a nurse suggested we try healing touch, a complementary therapy that's supposed to help the body heal through near-body contact or physical touch. She watched as Lisa Thompson, a pediatric nurse at Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego, began moving her hands a few inches above us. Within minutes, beeping machines quieted, Jack's heart rate steadied. For the first time in 10 days, we both caught our collective breath and Jack fell asleep. This would make sense even more for children who are supposed to be more in contact with the unseen energies that are supposedly all around us, but we don't see. So this seems like something so far-fetched, some Eastern crazy thing, Reiki or whatever. This is actually the Western version of Reiki, the Western version of these Eastern methods of healing, which it says it was developed in early 1980s by Colorado nurse Janet Mengen. Healing touch is called healing touch, this idea. Of course, the mainstream, it's fringe for the mainstream medicine, but there are certain organizations that started to take this on. The Mayo Clinic, Memorial Sloan Kettering, and more than 30% of America's Veteran Administration, the VA hospital system, have incorporating healing touch therapies in the conventional treatment to comfort patients. And I know that a lot of people are starting to get into these ideas because now we have the science, we have enough data to understand what's happening here. So it goes on to say that scientists cannot fully explain the mechanisms, but some physicians, psychologists, and controlled studies have made compelling guesses about what might be happening below the surface. As I said, I'm going to be repeating this all throughout this video because I think that video is very important, the one I made about the reading, and going into the original video where I took that from and into the original research that is linked in that video is very, very important. His research included quite sophisticated methods to understand what's going on, including a quantum measurement system of the environment, molecular study of water vials that were in the room where these quote-unquote healings were being conducted, etc., etc. And he did it a bunch of times, and he came out with consistent results, which only add to the other pieces of research that are already out there. So he goes on to talk about laying on hands, these ancient ideas that today are finding a place in modern medicine. The term Biofield therapies was coined at a National Institutes of Health meeting in 1992. So it is related to these Chinese therapies like acupuncture, Qigong, and so on and so forth. Reiki, which originated in Japan, healing touch. These therapies are based on the idea that the body has a biofield system, not unlike the circulatory, nervous, and lymphatic system. So this is the idea that there's some sort of energy, a biofield. What exactly is a biofield? How do we define it? What are they really talking about? We don't know. It's the idea that perhaps there's energy outside the body, all around you, like an aura, like a soul outside of us, which is the main theory that exists currently in some circles. Now, this seems a little bit far-fetched, but when we think about it, we got EEGs, EKGs, electroencephalograms, and electrocardiograms, which is about energy, about brainwaves. They are literally tracking brainwaves. These are non-physical aspects of our physiology. So it is a little bit ironic and contradictive when some of these medical fields completely reject the theory of a biofield or something which is non-physical, which is metaphysical, that is real, when we are actually measuring non-physical aspects of our physical beings, like the EEGs or the EKGs. These are energy. These measurements are of energy in some form. So it is very ironic that they completely discard this idea of a metaphysical aspect in our physiology, while we have these two concepts, these two things that are very common in the medical fields. We even have devices that measure body temperature a foot away from skin. The article goes on to say about a psychologist, Shamini Jain, who talks about this subtle energy and relates the ideas of prana and ki. These are ideas that have been in places like India and China for thousands of years. This idea of the life force, this energy that is all over the place, which our quantum physics starting to delve into, and it's been all over our mythologies, our philosophies, and now science is starting to understand what exactly this is. So he says, if I put on my hardcore scientist hat, we don't know what's happening. We have no idea. And a lot of, as I said, the medical fields are going to deny it. They're going to take it as something laughable. But the fact is that we see positive changes in mood and physiology that matter to patients. In these studies, those changes have ranged from self-reported reduction in pain and anxiety to increased natural killer cell function during cancer treatment. A lot of people who have suddenly been cured of cancer. This is one of the questions that I posed forward. What is the difference between someone who makes a miraculous healing in things like cancer or even COVID nowadays? Some people, when they get these illnesses, they just go down and die, and it's very tragic and very traumatic for them and their families. Some other people go through the same treatments and they come out of the other side completely healed. What is the catalyst? What exactly is the variable here? We're starting to find out that some of these alternate methods now, I want to make a little bit of a parenthesis here, as I mentioned on that video that I made about the placebo effect, which is going to be linked below, and which I'm going to take the opportunity to link right now on the screen, because so this is just like ongoing research. This is a recent article that I found. On that other video, I go in depth into actually what's going on. So please look at it, it's very important. It is mentioned there that these ideas of alternative medicine or psychosomatic healing, psychosomatic wellness are not to be replacements of the actual treatments, but either boosters or aids to these treatments. And the combination of the actual treatment, which focuses and attacks the actual physical symptoms, the actual physical complications, alongside with the placebo effect, with the alternative medicine, with the psychosomatic medicine, with the quote-unquote healing touch, it has amazing results. And it has to do with the way that the body and the actual treatment coordinate together. So I'm not saying that we should discard medicine, but to add these alternative ideas to the current treatments and medicine that we have right now. Goes on to say some of the studies lately, those ones who received any healing for reduction in pain compared to those who didn't receive therapy. There are tons and tons and tons of studies that suggest that these therapies, these methods are valid and are 100% useful. The placebo effect, nobody can deny it. Nobody can deny it. It's all written down and linked on those videos that I'm going to be linked below. A quick Google search will show you the results. This is a real thing. The problem is that scientists do not understand it. Neither anyone else. So we think it's energy, we think it's positive thinking, we think it's neuro-linguistic programming. What's happening here? We go into the ancient philosophies and we look at the principle of mentalism, and we go into the theories of the holographic universe, the idea of the hologram. We may start to understand what's happening here. Indeed, so here's where these ancient philosophies and these ideas start to be useful. The idea of mentalism, the idea that everything is within and without, is the same as above, so below, and so on and so forth. When we look at the reports on near-death experiences, on entheogens, what people are saying is we're not our bodies, we're something else. There's some sort of field, some sort of a larger energy above us. We are not our bodies, we are outside our bodies. And people have these experiences of going through other people's thoughts and seeing without eyes, because they're outside their bodies and they see their bodies. They see the bed, them in hospitals just walking around, looking at people and what they did. And this is later confirmed by the people who were around the accident or the surgery or whatever. This is something that these are reports that are stacking and are starting to add into these newer theories like the Or-Coar. I haven't approached it yet fully, but I will very soon, which says that there's these microtubules which go out into this quantum field at the moment of death, which are in our brain, just gathering all the information. When we die, they just scatter. So all of these ideas are coming together. We are not our bodies. Our souls might be outside of our body. There might be like a larger soul that we are all part of, and we sort of go through a process of individualization, sort of like some of the ideas of Carl Jung, the psychologist. But in any case, the idea is that there's something happening here. So what this research on touch or energy healing is leading forward is, so it says here, these studies and others with similar results over the years probe the question: is it all in the head of the recipient? Is it all about mentalism? Are we talking about this hermetic law that the all is mental? So, despite 400 clinical studies, including more than 125, the academic and medical community remains skeptical about the benefits of biofield therapies. Of course they are, because we live in a nihilistic society that is not ready to accept something different, that's secularism. So he goes on to say, Sheen Lin, a biomedical scientist and director of the Laboratory of Mind-Body Signaling Energy Research at University of California, Irvine, they're going through this. You witness a similar effect of electrical energy when your hair stands up after brushing, dry hands on a wool sweater, when you just graze a carpet or something like that. You feel the energy. You know that we are electricity. We have this energy all throughout our bodies. But she says, energy from a human healer can't possibly exert enough power to change a patient's physiology without physical contact. So this energy is there. There's the idea that the soul is outside, but this energy is not enough to actually shift another person's biological levels, physiology, without physical contact, like an intrusive surgery would do. You cannot do it with only energy. In his view, positive research findings on healing touch are a product of the placebo effect, and it comes back. So now they're saying it's not the healing touch, it is the placebo effect. It is the fact that the subject of the healing, who is being cared for, who is being touched in a therapeutic way, is feeling that he is being taken care of and that he is being healed. So this person starts to heal themselves using this placebo effect, which, as I mentioned in that video that I've been talking about, there's no way to deny it anymore. They're trying to explain it, but they cannot deny it anymore. Meaning the treatment may impart benefits, but only because people believe it works. So it's not about the healing touch, it's about the placebo effect. That's what this guy is saying right here. Research confirms that placebo treatments can produce measurable physiological changes. This might include modified heart rate, blood pressure, and cortisol levels, all from the catalyst of our mind. So this is important. So the placebo effect can change very specific things. In that previous video, I spoke about how when some of the subjects were told that their capability to have children was going to be reduced and they could be sterile, this effect happened to them without an actual thing. Their minds practically nurtured them. It made them infertile. Their minds created these effects. So we are talking about very specific effects, because so I'm just gonna go into it. So she's saying, but I'm left wondering how that might have applied to the mind of my barely 1-year-old son. This is a huge question. So the barely 1-year-old son does not have the complex cognitive ability to understand that he is being healed, not even that he is sick. He doesn't even understand the world. He's just in discomfort. So it comes with some of the ideas that little children, small children, babies, they receive the energy from their parents and so on and so forth. But it also goes with the ideas that Dean Radin and Bill Bengtson talk about, and some of the other healers, some of the other researchers in this consciousness fields are talking about. It's not only about one person, it's about the collective consciousness. So the person who is receiving the healing is only one aspect of the ritual. In Native American rituals, it was the whole community coming forward and creating something. When you hear about those miraculous healings in these circles of prayer from Christians, it's the whole ministry, the whole community who is coming forward and creating something. So in this particular situation where her 1-year-old son was being taken care of, it was a combination of her, the mother, the physicians around her, even the doctors who have allowed these alternative methods to maybe aid. Probably their thought process is that it's going to help the mother relax if something is being done to the baby. But nurses know what's going on. So all the nurses who are actually doing this healing touch is the community coming together for caring about another being, which creates the healing. It's not the placebo effect that the baby is creating. It's the whole collective consciousness applying an effect. Other experts, along plenty of studies controlling for placebo, suggest different mechanisms could be at work in biofield therapies. Modulating the body's stress and relaxation responses is one of them. We know the body is built to heal itself. This is something important. We know this. Some people don't even begin to grasp this idea, but barriers like anxiousness, malnutrition, and sleep deprivation inhibit that, even with the best medical treatments. Healing touch allow us to calm people down and position the body in the best place for healing. This is true. Simple looking at your breathing, simple relaxation will do amazing things. But now this is one of the counter arguments to the placebo effect, and I talked about it in that previous video. I'm gonna repeat it because it is quite important. So one of these counter arguments is that it is not about placebo, it is not about anything, it's just that stress causes the body to become inflamed. Stress causes a lot of issues. So as soon as you reduce stress, the body is going to begin to heal naturally. This is what some of the skeptics about the placebo effect are saying. They're saying it's not about your mind, it's not about what they call woo-woo or anything like that. It's about simply relaxing the body, taking away stress, and then the body doing its natural course. But now, how come that very specific effects, depending on what people are told, like blood pressure, creating cells, cortisol levels, and as it is mentioned on that previous article, people who were told who were going to be infertile, they developed those very specific things that happen to them. So it's not simply about the body relaxing and, creating the natural healing. It is about very specific effects that go both ways. So there's psychosomatic wellness, and then the psychosomatic disease. If they are told that something bad is going to happen to them, they're going to create it. If they're told that something good is going to happen to them, they're going to create it. So it goes both ways. We're talking about something different here, not the simple idea that the body is quote-unquote healing itself, as much as truth as that might be. So the article goes on to close with saying that in that relaxed state, modern treatments are also rendered more effective. This is what, they're saying. It's only about being relaxed. As I'm saying, there's something more than this. 2020 study with 39 combat veterans, series of 10 healing touch treatments, like the one that the little baby Jack received, for clinically significant reductions in symptom severity, along with a range of positive physical and physiological effects. I say there's tons of studies. If you just do a quick Google research. You're gonna find that. There's no way to deny this. So she goes on to say that she started taking classes to do this healing touch, and she's saying, I don't know what happened there. I'm not really sure what's going on with this healing touch thing. I am sure, however, that I look bizarre. There's a lot of stigma about these things. Some of my videos get so, not a lot of people look into these videos because there's so much stigma about it. There's so much skepticism. Nevertheless, I began to turning to heal and touch to quiet feelings of helplessness when a loved one was unwell. So this is huge. This is one of the reasons why I do this as well, why I'm researching this. I've been in these situations where I have people close to me who are unwell, and they, when a loved one is not well, and that feeling of helplessness is one of the worst things ever. But what if your ideas about that person could change, could aid, could help them in any way? This is what she's saying here. She's saying she doesn't know if it works or not, but it made me feel closer to those who were suffering. I'm not alone here. The studies show that nurses who practice Biofield therapies, I like these names, these scientific names to understand this chi, this prana, experience stress relief, improved immune function, and a greater sense of connection to their patients. They feel better. These nurses, they're seeing all these traumatic cases over and over, so they probably feel helpless as they are not doctors. So what can they do? They do everything else plus these alternative ideas, which in retrospective, if we end up finding out that the above, the unconscious, this realm of the subconscious mind is actually more important than the physical, like all the prophets have said, like our modern research is starting to lead upon. Perhaps it is the nurses that are doing the bulk of the work rather than the doctors with their intrusive surgeries. A great sense of connection to the parents. So it goes on to close like this. Recently, when a stomach bug ravaged our household, I found myself on familiar ground at a children's hospital with one of my sons. This time, I didn't feel powerless, and I didn't care that I looked ridiculous. She's getting over the stigma of society. I called to mind a tree, rooted my feet into the ground, and put my hands to work. I find this something amazing. 2022, we're barely understanding what's the truth behind all of these things which we have thought to be fairy tales, nonsense, helplessness. This idea that suffering is real and there's nothing we can do about it. In 2022, these ideas are going into our science that matters, into our scientific tabloids, into our scientific mainstream ideas. So I find it interesting that she says, I call to mind a tree. She began to do a ritual there. She embraced the concept of a tree, rooted her feet into the ground, and put her hands to work. This is something amazing. All of the rituals, this is why the rituals are how they are. This is her convincing herself that she can do something about it. And I've done this research for a long time, and this is what all the healers say. This is more importantly than anecdotal evidence. This is what the research is saying. Again, I'm gonna link that video below, the one from placebo and the one from the rating. It might not be only about the placebo effect of the person. It might be also about everyone around, the healer, the subject, putting those thoughts, that energy, that intention into the subconscious, the possibly subconscious field, collective consciousness that is permeating everyone and everything, might have an effect on our physical material world. And the evidence is right here. Alright, so as I mentioned in this channel, there's no way to make any final conclusions or anything of that sort because this is an ongoing research, but I do want to have some final thoughts and some TLDR of what this whole video was about, and the main things that I want to take from it. Number one thing is that it's good that these practices, these concepts, these ideas are starting to be incorporated into actual therapy, into the actual medical settings. This is amazing because it proves that they are worth trying out and they have results. We have a lot of results. We cannot deny the placebo effect. We cannot deny the studies that have been done about this. It helps people for whatever reason it is. That is what is being debated. It is not debated whether healing touch works or whether the placebo is real and so on and so forth. That is not for debate. The evidence shows that it is right there. What is for debate is what exactly is the force at hand here now. Some of the skeptics, some of the scientists are saying, oh, it's just the body relaxing and, lowering inflammation and then so on and creating the natural healing. But then we have all the other evidence which suggests that when a specific thing is put in the mind of the subject, that specific result is achieved. In a positive way and even in a negative way, like in the cases I mentioned of people who became sterile after being told that some medicine could have this negative effect while they were taking candy pills. So there are very specific results that can come out from this situation. Now, if we put all of the other research on top of this, and we talk about quantum physics, we talk about the ideas that, people are able to regulate their own bodies to create things happening at the microcellular level, or to bring things or situations towards their life by serendipity, by synchronicity, given that we might live in some sort of a hologram, which is the idea of the hologram theory, and everything is connected by a unified field of consciousness, then the evidence makes absolute sense. The idea that people can create their own illnesses and their own healings, it goes completely hand in hand with all of the rest of the evidence that we have. So now I know that it's okay to be skeptic, it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to further the research, but what is not okay is to deny the evidence, which is what a lot of the scientists and a lot of people in the medical fields are doing, especially when it actually helps and it improves people's lives. Now, another thing that I want to take from this video, which is probably most important, is that we're not really talking about energy healing. We do have research and we do have hard data on what's happening here. I've spoken about it in the previous videos. As I said, they're gonna be linked at the end of the description of this video. Those videos are more important than this because that's where I go in depth into this, and it's not my thoughts. This is the results from some of the research from Bill Bengston and Dean Rading, and the actual published research is out there. I have it all linked in those videos. So what they are saying is that it's not really that there is energy being applied, but rather there is an intention from the healer, from the people who are being healed, even from the people who are making the tests and running the double-blind settings. As I said, it has to do with quantum physics. It is the actual phenomenon, and it is the observer. So everyone is an observer. The physicians, the mother of the child himself, the nurses, everybody is creating a whole setting. So what they are saying is that we are all tapping into this sort of subconscious or collective consciousness into creating something. And when a large enough group of people, perhaps this is what happens in the circles of prayer, as I said, perhaps this is what happened in the ancient rituals from ancient cultures like the Native Americans, like the Celts in Europe, maybe some early Asian cultures would practice this as well, which is the origins of this whole idea of ki and prana comes from. When enough people come together and focus on the same thing, a result is achieved, given that the energy is posed in this larger consciousness that permeates the universe. This is the main theory right now behind this whole idea of healing touch, or so on and so forth. The healing touch, the visualization, the crystals, the dagger on a table, the candles, the rose, the incantations, all the rituals from the Middle Ages and before and after. Today, taking a pill, getting a vaccine is a ritual itself. These are rituals which help your mind get into that subconscious state. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. A Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.